What up, gang? This is El Jefe bringing you another monster of a deck list to bring into the standard ladder for the last couple days of the February season. This deck list is brought to you by none other than Sonio, who absolutely, if you are not following him, I strongly recommend you do so. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're a competitive MTG player and not checking out his stuff. Easily one of my top 3 favorite creators going at the moment, and absolutely put a lot of love into this deck that I think you will have a lot of success with running, and absolutely check him out if you're not already. As you'll see in the games, basically almost from straight out of the box, went 6-0 right after hitting Mythic. I'd wanted to try out an Esper deck list. I'd been seeing a bunch of them. Was just more trying to use decks that I had made to get to Mythic, but now I'd like, closing out the month, I definitely want to try some of the other stuff I've been seeing before the ladder resets, and we're gonna have to grind quick again. But yeah, let's look at the deck list. So we're looking at a pretty straightforward Esper control list here. A lot of the usual suspects, especially that we've been running here on the channel for a bit. Hullbreaker Horror, not even going to read the card. You know how much of a menace it is. Before this video, we had put out a real strong Azorius list that had a lot of this top end similar. Some of this bottom stuff down here too, but we've splashed black in for a little bit extra, let's say, targeted removal. We'll talk about March in a second, but we're also getting in Kaido, and this is actually the first deck that I've run Kaido in, and definitely a power player in the meta right now. Since we haven't reviewed him yet on this channel, you're probably familiar, but just in case, he's a 3-cost Planeswalker, 3 loyalty. His +1 ability, draw a card. And then discard unless you attack this turn. Pretty easy to manipulate. His second ability, -2. Create a 1/1 blue ninja token that can't be blocked. The -7 has not come up for me ever, but if it ever were, we can dig out Hullbreaker Horrors if we need to. But the big value off of Kaido is mostly that you can stick it down turn 1, and you can either filter your hand, or you are able to make a 1/1, and then he's going to phase out after the first turn he's played, which means he's going to be living until the next turn. So if a lot of the time, short of Sunset Revelry, we're not going to have a body to trigger, let's say, the value +1 ability on him. So a lot of times you can bring him down on turn 3, make a 1/1, he phases out. Turn 4, you're able to swing in and then draw a card unblockable. A lot of times, if possible, could be followed up with a Doomscar if it's an aggro deck, Sunset Revelry if we're in trouble, or you can just hold up either removal or draw. The other thing I've been pushing a lot lately is Doomscar, really just board wipes in general, whether it's Doomscar, Farewell, which is absolutely crushing this current meta, right? You know, we're predominantly seeing those Selesnya or Naya enchantment piles. Orzhov still running around everywhere. We obviously still have mono white, tiny bit of mono green, and either mono red aggro, where some of this red or Rakdos sacrifice decks. And Farewell is just absolutely torching all of these decks as long as you can make it to cast it, just live long enough. And really the bottom end of this deck is just allowing us to get to that point. You come in, again, you finish it off with Hullbreaker Horror. For card draw, and actually, let me take a step back. This is almost as is, as Sonio had posted it. The only 2 changes that I made was cutting 1 Memory Deluge for 1 extra Kaido. Initially, just because I hadn't played Kaido, so I wanted to force him in a little bit more, but I really think I've only lost a couple times with this deck, and it's basically just to a god draw from mono white, or I think even a mono red potentially. And if you're getting stuck with too many 4-cost draw spells, especially Memory Deluge that you can't foretell early, That's really just the biggest feels bad in terms of just there's nothing that you could have done. You're half dead by turn 3 or 4. So cut for an extra Kaido, and I think that's probably a good change. And the only other change was that there was 1 negate in the original deck list and 1 disdainful stroke. However, from my Azorius list, I had tried out disdainful stroke, and I find that again, if some of the few ways that we can lose this game or lose playing this deck are to hyper aggression, disdainful stroke doesn't really hit anything in mono white, and which isn't really a great example. It's not like negate's hitting a bunch of stuff either, but for Selesnya or the Naya enchantment lists, I just found that negate is slightly more I'd say just slightly more relevant. It's not like it's not a big change by any means. It's still just a counter spell, but I've been having a little bit better luck with negate versus disdainful stroke, which, even like against those Rakdos lists, right? There's almost nothing that costs more than 4. And this can hit one of the anvils. But again, pretty small change. The other Planeswalker in the deck, the Wandering Emperor, we should be getting familiar with her. Crazy combat trick, and really just big utility spell, or value utility spell that can come down, buy you a little bit of time, put up a few bodies onto the battlefield. The other thing we want to talk a little bit about, we talked about March of Otherworldly Light a bit in the last couple decks. Super strong removal that is able to hit enchantment and artifacts, which we do love. But the other one here right now is March of Wretched Sorrow, and it's similar in its ability to exile extra black cards. We're very rarely doing that because we'd basically be pitching an entirely separate removal spell or a Kaido, and we don't want to do either of that typically. But basically, the X cost is dealing X damage to either creature or Planeswalker, which is very important because unlike my Azorius list, we aren't running Fateful Absence. We don't want to give him the card. Vanishing Verse is not hitting opponents' Kaidos. It's not hitting Arlens. Not that we're seeing that a lot. So, but Planeswalkers that stick can be, I'd say, one of the other thorns that Doomscar and Farewell are not hitting. Since this is a 3-color deck, there's no way to feasibly run Devastating Mastery, which is giving me in the Azorius deck a little bit extra coverage against Planeswalker heavy decks. But March of Wretched Sorrow, very good way to basically chop them down and gain a little bit of life too when that is necessary. So real strong spell, especially late in the game, can buy you a lot of extra time. And that's mostly the deck list. Few Jawaris, right? You just want flexible lands, can definitely, especially on the play, getting really anything relevant. I'd say honestly, like a wedding announcement's the most common thing this is countering, but we know why Jawari is pretty strong right now. And Sunset Revelry, card I love, was real big, before Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow, and I certainly haven't fallen off of it, so glad it's included in here. Real strong at buying any control deck, just a good amount of time for a couple mana against any aggressive style of deck. So, and that's mostly it, honestly. Again, the deck is just a very cohesive pile that, can build you a lot of value, while, essentially just stalling out the game, making sure that at the right time we can reset the board and then come in over the top and just absolutely run away with the game. This, again, was basically me just loading up the deck, making a couple changes, and then just running it on ladder. We got a quick, not to ruin it, but got a quick 6-0, though, in honor of Sonia, and mostly just because I like listening to music sometimes while I am, or really all the time I'm playing, just gets in the way of recording. But there's no commentary on these games. But I don't think you really need a whole lot. The decisions here usually aren't too tough. Just sequence well, and the deck honestly kind of pilots itself, right? Just identify the big threats, make sure they don't stick when they're not supposed to, and don't ever fall behind, and the rest of the deck's going to carry you. So with that, again, very strongly encourage you subscribe to Sonio if you are not. I think he's pushing around 11,000 subscribers right now, so I'd love to help see him get a little bit bigger, show him some love, and as always, if you can help out this channel by liking and subscribing, it would go a long way to just helping me keep this going. I'm enjoying it so far, but any little bit of support helps and certainly means a lot to me. So thanks so much. Again, this is El Jefe, and I will I'll see you on the other side, working on some sweet stuff for next month. Peace.
Has been through enough. It needs our help. Don't worry. Only mischief.
I hope you're ready to lose. We must protect the people. Until next time, then.
I've got some time. Second here, second there. Who's counting? Was a surprise. And some think time only flows in one direction. counter. Don't worry. It's only a little mystery. This is hardly my worst defeat.
I'm going to end it. You are not much of a roadblock.
You'll never see me coming. Bet you can't catch us.
Remember your training. Keep watch for intruders.
Thanks. I'll be taking that now. Big deal. I'll try again later.
Show them how we greet our enemies. Emperor of Kamigawa, and I will protect my people. Strike fast and strike hard. Let your blade do the talking. May your blade strike true. the edge in this fight.
With the right tools, I can do anything. Now, what do we have here? Get in, get out. Easy mission. It's like your defenses aren't even there. Thanks. I'll be taking that now.
Run away. Will he say so? I am almost sad to see you go.
I will show you what happens when the spy... A gift in exchange for loyalty.
I have got new moves to teach you.
I will not cry like a meek little thing.
Now, what do we have here? I'll find another way.
Let your blade do the talking.
Thanks. I'll be taking that now.
I just want to get in, get out, and finish the job.
Remember your training.
You got a dagger with your name on it.
Now this is a juicy secret.